Welcome to Music City Arts Channel 9 and Rhubarb Theater Company's production of Rising and Falling. What you're about to see is a first. It's a first for Channel 9, it's a first for Nashville, it's a first for Rhubarb Theater Company. You are about to watch a live presentation of a play from Channel 9 Studios. We've got a live theater audience here, live studio audience I guess is the right word. It's a first for these guys, it's a first for the actors, it's a first for this camera crew, for the sound crew, lights and sound, all of that stuff. This is a first. So who knows what we're going to see here tonight? Could be anything. I do know what play it is. It's called Rising and Falling. It's written by Nashville playwright Valerie Hart, and it's directed by yours truly. It's inspired by a real-life public arts controversy that happened in the immediate aftermath of 9/11. Looks at issues like who gets to decide what public art looks like, who does the artist have to please, especially in light of an event of the magnitude of the attacks on the World Trade Center. Following our performance tonight, we'll do a question and answer session with the playwright, and I hope you'll stay tuned. Those of you here in the studio with us, feel free to laugh and clap and react as you would for any performance, and those of you at home, feel free to laugh and clap and react as you would for any performance. Don't be intimidated by the cameras. What could happen? Have to watch and find out. Enjoy the show.
.650 AM WSM, it's Coffee Country and Cody. I'm Charlie Mattis. Bill Cody off on this Tuesday morning. What a gorgeous September morning to have a day off. Hopefully Billy Boy's up and about early, maybe walking the dogs. If you're driving to work this morning, some slowdowns on Briley Parkway. I know you're shocked by that. Richard Thomas will have an update of traffic in just a few minutes. Right now, some classic music from the Tammy Wynette catalog. This is #1 back in 1968 on WSM.
Sometimes it's hard to be alone.
Who is this again?
Iphigenia. Her father, King Agamemnon, was leading the Greeks to Troy, ostensibly to retrieve Helen, who had been abducted by Paris, the Trojan prince.
Right. Helen of Troy. Big wooden horse, I remember that. So why not a big wooden horse? Why her?
She's killed by her own father. The Greeks assembled thousands of ships and men, but couldn't sail for lack of wind. As general, Agamemnon was under political pressure to do something or else face certain mutiny jeopardizing the whole mission. He felt that a sacrifice to the gods would release the winds.
He offered up his own daughter, huh?
He needed to prove himself, I guess.
Filicide. Well, not your usual subject matter.
The subject is sacrifice. How the powerful so gladly offer up the weak to further their own goals and then try to sell it to the public as some sort of honor. And we're also relieved it's not our head on the block. We just go along with it.
Yes, so you still haven't gotten over your last reviews, huh?
I'm not being ironic here.
Mark, as your most avid collector and your gallerist, I take you more seriously than anyone. I just liked your more playful phase. I miss the giant lips.
That arch, self-winking shit is old news. It's time I made something interesting, important, thoughtful.
Yes. The serious, dreary, self-important artist. How unique. How innovative.
You mean harder for you to sell.
Well, I do buy your work and sell it, remember? Well, I guess the lips have sort of had their moment. And I suppose I can overlook this girl's fate, because 4 of them would frame the pergola at my beach house beautifully. So can I get each one in a different patina,
We interrupt our programming, ladies and gentlemen. We have an update from our WSM newsroom this morning. The Associated Press is reporting, and we are confirming this on our in-studio monitors as well, that there has been an explosion and what appears to be a plane crashing into the World Trade Center in downtown Lower Manhattan this morning. A very...
And it has now been confirmed by eyewitnesses both on the ground and in the air that 2 jetliners have crashed into the World Trade Center's towers 1 and 2 in what appears to be a deliberate
No.
attack on the...
Are you seeing this? Oh my God, is this really happening? Look, have you heard from the warehouse? Are they okay?
My king, you take my breath to fill your sails with the god's spit? My general, I would gladly die so that my country lives, but to send our men to recover a faithless wife? My father, you use the word honor and yet betray your first child.
And yet, I believe it is now being confirmed that what we're seeing here are people jumping from the North Tower.
Over the last 500 years, well-preserved human remains have been found in peat bogs all over northern Europe. The cold, low pH, and airless conditions preserve the skin, internal organs, and sometimes even the hair of these corpses. In many cases, it also preserved evidence of their cause of death, leading most researchers to theorize that these were victims of ritual sacrifice. Spent old men, lambent girls, unfurling little children. Why them? What wish of their people did they carry on their lumpen tongues? What hopes and desires were written on their eyelids in the blue cold?
Apparently those in the South Tower are now jumping as well, and oh no, the South Tower is collapsing. It's falling. Oh no.
Jesus.
Jesus, man. I swear to God.
You aren't right. You are not right.
God, that's ugly.
Well, it's a memorial, not a centerfold.
Well, those poor son of a bitches who jumped had clothes on. I mean, when does this guy get off?
Well, when you make your memorial, you can make it any way you want.
I'm just saying it's bad taste to make it naked.
What do you know about taste?
Well, we're taking it out of here, ain't we?
Yeah. Well, naked or not, there's no way we're gonna move it. Call the truck.
Yeah. Put a couple of rockers up here underneath the legs.
They snap like pretzels.
Yeah, well, if I'd have welded it instead of some pansy-assed artist, it'd hold.
Well, the pansy-ass is paying you a nice piece of change, so plug it. Call the truck.
Alrighty then. Well, I'm gonna get me a cup of coffee first, Mr. Know-It-All. I mean, I know about welding too. Just because you worked on them skyscrapers doesn't mean you're the only son of a bitch in the world who knows anything about welding.
Wait, lady, you can't be here.
Oh, please. I just came to see her.
We're taking it out of here.
Oh, no. Why? You can't do that. I came all the way from Warrenton, Jersey.
Come on, lady, out.
Please.
Oh, no.
Who's this?
Some woman, I don't know.
Not just some woman. I'm a mother.
Queen of England, whose mother?
Her mother, Ellen's.
What?
Ellen Adams. It's amazing. I can see her looking just like that.
Jesus, lady.
Shut your mouth. Go get the manager. Yeah.
I don't know why they're taking you away. You loved this place. The cafe, the skaters. We used to come every year to watch them like the Christmas tree, remember? La Bibliothèque Française is moving out, though. He says the rent is just crazy now. I brought some of your things.
She can't hear you. I mean.
I'm through the passive stage of grief and the anger stage, so I'm officially in mourning now, which they tell me is an active process.
Oh.
What stage are you in?
Me? No stage.
I see. Denial.
Look, lady.
It's Claudia.
Okay, Claudia, look, I'm sorry about your daughter.
So, you didn't know anyone up there?
Well, of course I do. Everyone does.
Did they jump?
How could you ask me that?
It wasn't the worst thing.
Oh, no? Have you ever been almost 1,000 feet in the air, standing on something that's the width of your foot, with nothing between you and hell but a breeze, or that beer you had 12 hours ago, have you? You don't know what that's like.
No, I don't. My life is airless now. No sun, just hell.
Look, lady, I mean, Claudia, look, I'm sorry, but we have to remove it. Her, I mean, so I need to get you to, you know...
What do you think about when you think about them? Or do you just climb up in the sky so you don't have to?
What?
Think about them. All of them there that day, or do you just not think about anything at all?
Look, I think I'm not... I don't know, they said...
I'm sorry, I just think you're not...
No, I can. My niece Alicia. She was on the 101st floor.
Oh.
Gaynor Fitzgerald, they were setting ducks up there.
Oh, well...
It was, she didn't...
She didn't suffer.
That's what they said, it was quick. Where was your, Ellen?
Windows on the World. She was their new conference director, in charge of all the bookings and catering. That morning was her first big party. Some bunch from the fashion world. She was so excited. She had a big banner made, Windows on the World of Fashion. She was creative in everything she did. And so stylish. It wouldn't mortify her to know she's out here like this. I had this made for her.
Looks real.
New job, new house, new husband.
Jesus.
She just had to work in New York City at the World Trade Center. She could have worked anywhere. She had offers from all the best hotels in D.C., Boston, Atlanta. No, it had to be here. Navel of the world, she called it. I don't know why Mark didn't dress her. Like this, she could be anybody.
Wait, Mark Cresswell?
The artist.
Yeah, I know. You know him?
Oh, no. He's famous. Put Nashville on the late 20th century art map. You must know him, though.
Oh, no, not really. This gallery hired us. Nashville, huh? You know, I've been wondering about this weird position she's in.
Well, she did practice yoga.
Oh. So, you like it? Her, I mean, the statue?
Well, I don't know. I have her whole life in pictures and birthday cards and scrapbooks, but this statue feels like a real connection, an umbilical cord of sorts.
Feels close.
You understand?
Yeah, I guess, but the name...
Woman falls?
Yeah, those people didn't fall, they jumped. There's a big difference. My niece was full mohawk. She wouldn't have fallen.
Mohawk?
Yeah. Her father and me, we danced all over those towers. We played on them like they were monkey bars. We riveted that iron under the curving sky, and we prayed to the sun that beat down on us every day. That every toe touch and every hill strike was light we found purchase. And you know what? Not one iron worker died when we built those towers. Hell, we thought we were invincible, and we thought the towers were too. You remember the 93 attacks?
Sure.
Well, those towers stood like the legs of a U.S. Marine. Yeah. We thought we were building the American pyramids, but we forgot that the pyramids were tombs too. I need to shut up.
Oh, you lost so much. I'm so sorry.
Hey, what the hell?
Hey, she's the mother.
All right, what's the matter with you? You moving this thing or what?
Hey, no, you brought it.
Who put clothes on it?
Well, you can't just stay out there naked like that.
Okay, lady, all right, you gotta get out of here, all right? We got work to do.
Don't you think she looks better now?
That's not the point.
Well, I know that artistically a nude represents all the victims, but they had clothes on, and I think if he's going to work in tight realism...
Hey, all right. You call the guy who made this thing an artist, all right? He ain't even a New Yorker.
How is that important?
Well, all right. Well, how is a statue of some naked woman falling to her death supposed to help anybody, like, heal or recover? I mean, I think the people who die don't want to be honored by this less than glorious thing, all right?
My daughters died for her country, as brave as any soldier. All she wanted was to work at Windows on the World. Instead, she died in a huge fireball. Her end was glorious.
Hey, listen, asshole, you know, people like you just want to close your eyes and go on like that. Nothing ever happened. Forget those towers and all those people.
Okay, listen, all right? That's what we're supposed to do, all right? Just go back to normal.
Jesus. Don't listen to him, sweetheart. He's obviously a Philistine.
Okay.
Hey, back off, man, will you?
Shut up, you nuts, man! Come on now! Come on!
Hello, and welcome to Art Talk. I'm your host, Randy Davidoff. With me today is noted New York Times art critic, Kevin Michaelsman. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Randy.
Also, please welcome to our show, well-known figurative sculptor, Mark Crespo.
Thanks, Randy. Hello, Kevin.
Good to see you again, Mark. How are things in Music City these days?
Good, although I seem to spend as much time in New York as back home.
That's splendid. Well, Kevin, recently you made some strong statements concerning what's been going on at Ground Zero.
You mean about the memorial planning? Well, Randy, I just think the whole effort is being rushed. Here we are, just past the 2-year anniversary of the attacks, the first acts of war on American soil in over a century, and yet we feel pressured to build something, statuary, a fountain, to get on with it and get over it.
Well, Ersatz thinking notwithstanding, what's compelling to me is that with the magnitude of the loss, and with over 40% of the remains of the victims still not recovered, it's not just a memorial, it's a grave.
Exactly. I mean, we all want something done there, but well, the event itself is so big and the situation is so complex that, well, we're still absorbing it. We shouldn't rush into it.
60% of the victims of Hiroshima left nothing but bits and flakes of bones.
The whole effort seems to be more about forgetting than remembering.
Anyone awake can never forget. War is a vitality as regular as spring, marking our time like day and darkness.
Mark wasn't afraid to look, to feel it.
And that's a question for our callers. Would it be better to leave Ground Zero alone for now and give us all time to think about what should be done? Call 888-ART-TALK.
Question for callers. Question for callers.
And that's a good segue to you, Mark. Last year you created the sculpture Woman Falls, which was displayed at One Rockefeller Center in September 2002.
Ellen Mary Adams. Ellen Mary Adams. Ellen Mary Adams.
A bronze female nude was on display only 8 days before public pressure forced its removal. To Kevin's point about the need for time to pass before memorials can be built, do you think it was too soon to show such a graphic piece?
Is 3,000 years too soon to grieve? Maybe for innocent victims, but any time is the right time for bargaining chips.
Hello? Hello, yes, I have a question. What? Oh, 07920.
Look, Woman Falls was my personal response to this disaster. We all watched it real time on television. People were in a situation where jumping from almost 1,000 feet up became their best option. I needed to process the awful magnitude of that. I mean, we all saw those pictures.
Oh, no one doubts that your intention was personal, and the artistic vocabulary was personal. A very recognizable woman. But it was on public display, in a public place, not tucked in the leafy corner of some garden.
He captured her perfectly, my Ellen. Yeah, yes, I'm still here.
And you're not even a New Yorker. And you've admitted that you didn't actually know any of the victims personally.
So that mitigates the horror I feel. So I have less right to a response.
Some would argue that.
The whole country went to war in response to the attacks. The whole country showed up to help at ground zero.
For the record, I don't agree with Kevin on this point.
I'm just saying that others might and have said so.
So the loss, I feel, isn't valid unless I know an actual victim or have eyewitness experience. Without that, I can't represent it artistically. But Picasso wasn't at Guernica, but no one questioned his right to respond to that massacre.
My question isn't for you. Well, what if you don't like my question? Who are you to judge my question?
No one would mistake Guernica for realism. Using a chaotic style bordering on illustration, Picasso acts as an interpreter of the events. Your realism almost recreates it.
Well, and to further Kevin's point about the impact of memorial art, especially public sculpture, it has a tendency to be owned by all those who come into contact with it. That tension between the artist's personal expression and the emotional needs of the viewers to invest their own meaning into it, that's what gives a memorial its real power, don't you think? And so you served up what looked like a real figure and, well, kaboom.
Kaboom?
Yes, kaboom. You were working with a cataclysmic event, using realism in temporal and physical proximity to the event itself. Now, don't be disingenuous and say that you couldn't have expected you would get such an explosive response.
My father didn't send the army for me. He sent my mother and her maid. We were happy.
I expected a whole range of response, but there seemed only one that was acceptable, dictated by people who acted like they owned all of that huge event.
Oh, Father, with all the burdens on your shoulders, you managed to marry me to Greece's greatest hero.
And most of the people who decried it obviously never even bothered to see it.
Could we put up a visual, please?
I must make an offering first. Before parting, you must be joined.
Well, of course, Father. The war demands that we heed the holy rites dictated by our priests, our ancestors, our history.
Our gods, girl. They require a living sacrifice, a young
heifer full of future life not yet spent? Am I to lead the dance for your offering, Father?
For those listening on radio, Woman Falls is a bronze female nude posed as if falling.
So what do you see, Randy? Is it awful, smashed, gratuitous? No, it's more a reverie. That was the challenge, to work realistically and yet convey the confusion I felt, the helplessness, like I was in a trance. So she floats, weightless, she's released free, she's whole, not crushed.
Not vanquished.
He wanted it to read like a feather.
or a bit of sheep's wool.
Batted by the wind.
And we have a caller. Hello, you're on Art Talk.
Ellen Mary Adams! Ellen Mary Adams! Ellen Mary Adams!
Okay, is that a question?
I'm a caller. I'm calling her, Ellen. Ellen. Her father pushed her away from me, made her believe she had to make it in New York. Well, he has to bear that now. Please, Mark, please put her back. I need her. Nothing else matters to me but her. Please.
Sorry about that.
Well, Woman Falls certainly has affected that person. One fan in 5 boroughs, eh?
I wouldn't call that a fan, Kevin.
They tell me I must die for them to live.
You are their gift.
And you their scapegoat.
Precious youth, not a person wasted with years. The forfeit must have greater value than the gain, otherwise there is no sacrifice.
I die young because that's what's needed. What they ask for.
You carry what needs to be borne away.
Yes. They say I will always be the weak girl. The slow one, that I will never bear children, that while I live, the fields will remain hard and brown, and the babies wither.
And there are transgressions, mistakes, errors of judgment, or worse, that will burn up with you and blow away like mist. It is an honor.
They tell me so. My voice is not its strong self now, but It is my time to die.
So, Mark, with the benefit of hindsight, would you have done things differently? Hold that thought. We have another call. Hello, you're on Odd Talk.
This was your offering, but they refused it.
Is it, Ida? I'm sorry if I'm mangling your name, but is that a question?
Why didn't your God smite the defilers when they took your offering? What sacrifice will you make to purify it and make it again worthy? Thanks, Randy. I'll take my answer off the air.
Well, Mark, I'm impressed. A full year after its brief exhibition, and your piece still elicits, shall I call them, passionate responses?
This is what baffles me. I can't think of any image more gentle, more vulnerable than a nude woman, and yet it's become a semaphore of all these other meanings. My only regret is caving into Rockefeller Center so fast. I didn't want to hurt anyone, but I should have put up a fight.
So you weren't angry when they first asked you to remove it?
Not then, but I am now. I feel like I was preyed upon by selfish, uncivilized, thoughtless people.
Your piece is very effective, and it clearly transmits the pain that you felt. And that most likely made others feel uncomfortable, so they projected their rage at you. It's that very response that leads me to believe that the final official memorial will be in the minimalist style, such as what Oklahoma City chose for the bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah.
But where is the human vulnerability in minimalism in rows and rows of chairs or boxes?
Minimalism is powerful because of its blankness. What the viewer of a minimalist work experiences is up to them, not imposed by the artist.
Well, that's very postmodern, but I'm a throwback, I guess. I'm fascinated by the people in a society who are powerless, without a champion, and who over and over again are spent like mere bankroll. When those people jumped, they were trying to reclaim some control in a crazy, out-of-control situation. That's specifically what I wanted to render here. So I chose a woman, not a man. I made her naked and falling backwards, at once submitting and empowered.
And we have another caller. Hello, you're on Odd Talk.
And Mr. Crestfall laid both his hands upon the head of his creation, and confessed upon her all the wickedness of our founding fathers and our blessed mothers and our children who got their own, and all their offenses and all their sins, putting them upon the head of woman falls. And then he sent her away by his own fit hand into the wilderness of Midtown, and she bore upon her all their misdeeds, whether spoken or wished, unto a land not inhabited, Rockefeller Center Plaza. And thus the herd was thinned, and the steam let off, and the accounts evened up, yes?
Is that a question?
Thin the herd, and next someone's going to ask if I believe in a super race.
Well, you certainly bring out the lunatic fringe, Mark.
Perhaps it's a Southern Gothic thing.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, it's certainly ironic that your piece has become hidden away and you yourself have become a victim.
It's not a Southern thing. It's the risk of art.
Well, on that note of righteousness, we have time for one more call. Hello, you're on Odd Talk.
You're saying that those people chose to be victims? Or that their death served some purpose? You're a sick man and you deserve to have your work denied.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Mark, for the liveliest discussion we've had in quite some time. I'd like to thank my guests, Mark Crestfall and Kevin Michaelsman. I'm Randy Davidoff, signing off for Odd Talk.
Almost 4 years after the attacks on the World Trade Center, New York City has announced that it will make public today more than 12,000 pages of oral histories from interviews with 503 firefighters, paramedics, and emergency medical technicians. The city announced that it will also release a written log of calls to the 911 system, many from trapped office workers, as well as tapes of fire dispatchers. Other records will become available.
Ida Girl, 14 to 16 years old, found May 1952 in what is now the Netherlands. Dated between 50 BCE and 200 CE, She had a cloth band covering her eyes and a double loop of twisted rawhide around her neck. It is likely that this sacrificial victim was drowned first, then laid in the peat bog and pinned down with birch branches and a large rock on her chest.
Such delicate face and hands. I won't look this good on my 50th birthday. The hair, reddish from the effects of the bog acids, but originally light blonde, was of an exceptional fineness. The skin, where present, was very well preserved. The bones, though much calcified, still retained their shape.
Oh, God.
Look, I just don't think a lot of people realize what we in EMS went through that day.
We were overwhelmed. Totally.
It was bad enough for us, you know, the city's own ambulances. The privates just didn't have a clue.
Sergeant Smith! Smitty! Where the hell is everybody? Where's the command center?
We were just doing what we could. There was this one firefighter who'd been hit by a woman falling from one of the towers. His two pals brought him in.
Hey, Bobby! Bobby, come on, man.
Come on, Bobby, you all right?
Look, I'm sorry. That woman fell from over 800 feet. He's got catastrophic injuries, no vitals.
I'm sorry, he's already gone.
Gone?
What do you mean gone?
Look, maybe you guys should sit down here and drink some water.
You kidding me? You know what's going on out there?
Yeah, come on, man. Unit needs us by 7. Let's go.
All right. We'll come back for you, Bobby.
You take care of him now.
Rest!
Oh, God. Mark? Help! Help! Call an ambulance! What happened? Are you all right?
I don't know. I felt weird. Do I know you?
It's Claudia. I'm Ellen's mother.
Ellen?
Ellen Mary Adams, your statue woman falls. She's my daughter. I was there that day when they took her away.
You were there? Why?
Oh, I was there every day. That last time I tried to protect her, though I don't think putting her in Rockefeller Center naked like that was sensible. Where is she now? When can I see her?
Look, that was 3 years ago.
Claudia.
Claudia, look, I appreciate your concern.
Well,
but
is there someplace else where I can see her?
That figure will never be on public display again.
What? Why not? Why would you hide her away?
I guess you don't read the papers, Claudia. Most people thought I was somehow profiting on the backs of the victims.
Well, I never thought
I was
that.
judged and condemned by people who never even saw the piece, people who have no idea what it takes to put something out there like that, who can't create anything, to only tear things down. It wasn't my intention to hurt anyone. Hell, I wasn't even thinking about anybody else. It was for me, for my loss. All those people who died were my countrymen.
Exactly, Mark. That's why you can't stop now.
Oh, what?
You have to show those harpies, those leeches, those suckerfish in the media. They don't scare you.
Claudia, this crap isn't worth it.
Oh, you don't mean that?
How would you know what I mean?
Because anyone who can create that perfect, beautiful image of my daughter is a good and gifted man. That's what you are, a good man with extraordinary gifts, which you must use. Now, tell me where I can see her. I can remember her better when I see her.
Here we are. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step back, please.
Well, there's no history of fainting or heart disease. No illness of any kind, really. It's probably low blood sugar. He tends to skip meals.
Are you his wife?
More of an in-law. My daughter was his muse.
What? No!
Okay, alert and responsive. It's BP's 80, a little high.
Look, I don't know this woman.
Mark?
Not really.
Okay, 86 the gurney.
Ma'am, if you're not a member of the immediate family, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, please.
Well, he's allergic to penicillin, but he loves chocolate.
Where's your allergy bracelets, buddy?
Look, I don't know her. She's some stalker.
Okay, well, but are you allergic to penicillin or not?
Yes, I am.
It's okay, it's okay. So you're allergic to penicillin and you have a stalker. It's all right, no problem.
galleries of Grimes and Black. Cannot speak with you at this time, however, please do leave a message, and we'll get right back to you.
This is Claudia Adams calling again. I know you represent Mark Crestfall, and I really need to speak to him about Woman Falls. I've left several messages for him and for you. I understand how busy you are, but I cannot impress upon you enough how important, critical, imperative this is. I'm not merely an art lover. I know that Mark is a rare talent, more of a philosopher artist, someone who doesn't need stunts and circus tricks. He doesn't waste his time making huge plastic dogs or putting sharks in formaldehyde or other toddler-esque antics. Now, Mark is one of the few masters of modern figurative work. He understands people. I'm calling as a person, as a wounded mother. Mark has the gauze to staunch my wound. Please, Mr. Grimes, please have him call me.
Okay, let's get a look at how the light falls.
It's perfect. Perfect.
We could turn it another 90 degrees.
You mean like we just had it? I'm just saying.
No. The equinox is here, the equilibrium. It's perfect.
I'll see you both at the truck.
That's what I love about her. She didn't choose when she would die, but she did choose how she would die. She made that decision and set it in motion, and it's irrevocable. And she's calm. I envy her that.
You envy her?
Yes, that's why I must have her.
I guess I like that.
Well, you made her, but now she's mine. When I look at her, I don't know, somehow death doesn't seem so insane. Some collective memory, maybe, that seems to quell my own fears. You made no more copies, right?
Don't worry, your investment's safe.
Well, I should think you'd be happy considering how this project got started.
Happy? For the first time as a working artist, I feel completely unfree.
Well, Mark, you can do anything now.
Well, no, it's weird. Now I feel weighed down. Now I feel like anything I do, any mark on a page or lump of clay, generates ripples that spread I don't know how far.
Mark, that's incredibly debilitating and arrogant at the same time. Okay? You can't be responsible for the impact of your work on others.
Look, I want to affect people with my work, but this was totally wrong.
I don't know. I can't help but think that this whole incident has been a good growing experience for you. I mean, don't you think you're being taken a little more seriously than before?
There's so many things wrong with what you just said.
Well, I would have thought you'd have worked through all of that in art school.
Well, you just put me back 20 years. Look, you know I'm used to being misinterpreted, but this is beyond that. I've created something that's been totally misused for reasons completely unrelated to my intention.
Yes, but she's fled the nest. She's beyond your control.
I don't like it.
Well, then don't make babies. Hello? Yes. Hello, Carr. No, delighted to hear from you. Yes, he's here. Yes, I'm keeping him in the civilized world as long as possible. So it's a lock then. Wonderful. No, I'll tell him, he'll be thrilled. Yes. Okay, namaste, darling. That was Carmilla Steinert.
Oh.
She has commissioned from you a grouping for the New World Trade Center.
From me?
Yes, from you. Whom do you think? Do I represent anyone else with the chops for that kind of work? For that site, it's perfect.
Oh, God.
Mark, this is good news.
Are you insane? We are placing here today a work of art related to 9/11 that has vivisected me emotionally, professionally. I was berated in the press and I'm still being haunted by that nut job woman. And now you commit me to produce a group of them for the New World Trade Center. That is damn cruel of you.
Okay. Well, let's see. If it's cruel of me to ensure that your last public act was not that embarrassing incident, also to show that you can put up with their bullshit and come back with a high-profile and lucrative commission, well, if providing all that for you is cruel, well, then I guess I'm just cruel.
Excuse me, I forgot some tools.
Ah, Chuck! The voice of reason, what do you think?
Well, it's not all as easy as you say.
Well, nothing of value of is now, is it?
But do whatever he wants to do, huh?
All right. Well, okay, sleep on it. You don't have to do anything rash. Come on. Come on, let's have a little pre-celebratory bubbly, huh? I had the most exquisite cheese. Come on, you too, Chuck, and bring, what's this? The
Jerry.
Yes, Jerry. Come on.
I let you go to make your own way in the world like any mother has to. But now you're joined to all the world. Beyond time, beyond me. A little voice, a whisper of beach sand across our toes, gentle as the warm laundry I'd dump on your bed to fold at night. You'd burrow into it like a little bunny. Now, I sleep alone and wake from tired dreams. A poached fish. How did you do it with all that shattering and exploding and shaking? I remember being up there and feeling that sway when the winds were strong. Your waiters had to have sea legs for the sky. You didn't look down, did you? I could never keep myself from that, but you must have just stared straight ahead, perfectly erect from all those pliés and pas de deux. Me, can't tell my right from my left. That was it. You looked out into that blue American morning, hearing nothing but silence, no screaming, sirens, no heat. The heat would, I confess, have made me consider something drastic. You stood maybe a foot or so from the edge and thought of Jeff standing in your beautiful garden in your new home, and then perfectly straight and with perfect spin.
Hey, what the hell, lady? Hey, Mark finds you here, your ass is gonna end up in jail.
Chuck, remember me, it's Claudia.
Whatever, we gotta get you out of here.
Remember I was there that day? You took her away
Yeah,
from
so
me.
what? Come on.
I've been trying to find Mark.
Look, you gotta stop calling him now, come on.
They're breaking ground on Tower 1. Are you going back to work on it?
Look, you don't know what you're talking about. Now listen to me, you gotta get on with your own life. Mark's gonna get a restraining order against you if you don't stop.
I took a step. I had to do something, and I took a step. And I breathed. In and out. The world was a torch, but I was still breathing. And I took a step. Shoulder blades flat on my back. Heart raised, hips level, toes forward straight. The earth's blue cover held me for a moment, and then my wire broke.
Now you live forever. More alive now than me.
Excuse me. Excuse me?
Yeah, what do you want?
I'm looking for anyone who can tell me how to find Chuck Beauvoir.
Chuck.
He's the...
Chuck the Mohawk, dummy.
Huh? Oh yeah, Chuck! Yeah, no, he's not here.
I know that. I'm trying to find him.
Well, and who are you?
I'm a friend of Chuck's.
You don't look like one of Chuck's friends.
How do you know what his friends look like?
Well, because his friends ain't female.
Chuck's friends know he ain't been around here for a while.
Well, I've been trying to find him for a while. I've been calling his home, but his wife is not
no. His ex-wife. You got some balls, lady.
I'll say.
Well, oh, you know, look, we didn't have an affair.
Oh, no, so then why the manhunt?
Well, do you remember that statue he helped remove from Rockefeller Center? Did you hear about that?
Of course we did.
Well, that statue looked just like my daughter. She worked at Windows on the World.
Oh, hell. So she was at the place now?
Oh, jeez, lady. Please.
Thank you.
Oh, so did Chuck, like, find her or whatever?
You shut it?
I mean, she was there.
What do you mean, find her?
Well, I mean, he worked at, like, the rescue or recovery.
Will you shut up already? You don't know who you're talking to here.
You,
For Christ's sake, she lost her daughter.
You mean Chuck went back to the site after the attacks?
Yeah, I mean, we all had to go back, but I mean, he was back the very next day.
Well, did he find anyone? Did he work in the North Tower?
Look, lady, it was hell on everybody, okay?
Yeah, but I mean, for Chuck, it was really, really brutal.
Him and his family.
Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Chuck.
Yeah.
Come on, man, it's a lost cause.
Yeah, man, it's not a rescue anymore. You gotta go home and get some rest.
You're gonna need us to take all this shit down.
Yeah, I know that, man. That's why you gotta go home and rest.
Yeah, man, go home and see your son. Go see Gloria, man. She's missing you.
Remains! Remains!
All right. Are you gonna do this for a whole year?
Someone has to do it.
All right, man. But I can't take any more.
Yeah, man, I got a family.
And you do too, Chuck, and you should think about that.
She'll understand.
Oh, man. Boys that have to have a husband back, you know, to have a life.
But these are indestructible. They're my first job. They were my legs.
Yeah, but man, you're not responsible.
Don't tell me. Just leave if you need to. I'm gonna go use the head.
What happened?
Yeah, what do you think?
He didn't leave.
Gloria left him.
Yeah, 8 months later, when we were done tearing everything down, I mean, he was done. Just quit walking iron.
Well, he stayed because he was looking for his niece. I understand that. He was trying to find her.
Niece?
What niece?
The one who worked at Cantor Fitzgerald, Alicia.
Nah. What I heard was that he heard about that shitstorm with that statue thing, and then he went to work for that artist guy full time.
Yeah, Chuck was probably a big help to him because I heard those wells were the shit.
Well, never mind. Where is he now?
I mean, I don't know. We don't hear from him, and Gloria doesn't talk too much.
Well, would one of you ask her to call me, please? I don't care about Chuck or Mark. I just need to see the statue again. Please? Thank you.
Damaged goods, losing a kid.
Yeah, and like that, it'd make you crazy.
Yeah.
May I help you? May I help you?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, is this new?
That's not for sale.
It is Mark's work, though.
Are you a friend of the artist? Or?
Oh, well, not exactly. We've that several times.
Well, that's a study for a larger grouping that's been commissioned for the new World Trade Center.
6 years. I guess that's long enough.
Yes, it's wonderful. For him.
Yes.
Now, may I help you? You are chosen. You are the gift. Within you a string of seasons, harvests of heavy abundance. All that rests within you, folded like a leaf ready to whirl open to the sun.
Fat snake of life curls inside you. We need to wake him, force him out to bring spring and sunlight.
These are the grains of our land, so that he may sow them and feast on them when he springs forth from sleep.
Must be me?
You are chosen.
You will be put in the bog. You will live forever.
We will know that you are there.
Not food for worms in the ground such as we, but whole, resting, permanent.
And we will sing songs that keep your name on our lips and in our hearts.
Long after we are forgotten.
Then, yes.
Charm Snake well, girl, and tell him we are good. We are kind and do right.
Steak, this is dear tribute. We give you her so that we may live, filled with food and with time for our children to grow.
To be a sacrifice that fits into some system, some mythology. I was so not that. The people who killed me were unbelievably stupid. I had no seasons within me, no power to affect what they wanted changed. My death was meaningless. To give your death meaning. What a gift. What a lie.
How sad you are. Death is merely a stone in a wall or a thread in a shirt without it. Life is like a cart with a lost wheel, unable to move. Arrested.
Ma'am. Ma'am.
Oh.
As I was saying, we have some lovely works on paper in the front of the gallery.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just not. I'm really not.
Okay, so
able
you're
to
just
afford it.
browsing.
Well, really? I came to speak to Chuck Beauvoir. He works for Mark.
Okay, and you actually know Mr. Beauvoir?
I just need to speak to him. A phone number would be fine.
We're not in the business of handing out the contact information of our artists or their associates to simply anyone who saunters in.
In Nashville.
Well, I'm not going to tell you that.
Well, it's Mark here. I can ask him.
No, you don't understand. Do you?
No, I need to speak to Chuck. I'm very worried for him and for Mark.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, that's why I need to speak to Chuck first. I called his union, and when they told me that his niece...
Okay. First of all, Chuck doesn't belong to any union. Okay, and what does Mark have to do with his niece?
Nothing. Well, that's not entirely true. He has one thing in common with the niece.
What is that?
It's a work of art.
What do you need? Look at this. This design isn't going to work. The base surface won't even hold the model in. So how are we going to scale them to 12 feet? Christ, why did I agree to do this?
It should behave. The math works out.
Oh, what's the point anyway? I wasn't trained for this. I don't know how to make monuments to the dead.
Well, you did it before.
They want something triumphant yet humble.
Well, then don't do it. You don't need it.
Makes me sick.
Well, you know, we did take a body blow, and we bounced back from it.
Did we? Did you? When did you last see your kid?
Look, this isn't about me. Hey, you were the first person to honor our dead, to acknowledge the disaster. That's why the City Fathers want you to participate.
The City Fathers. Oh, you are quaint. This is a deal struck by my gallerist and the real estate firm. They like controversy. They think that's what art's all about. Seems to be a total waste of time. No matter what I put up there, if it's not completely generalized and sterile, if it has any emotion at all, the Post will come after me again with a knife and a fork, saying I don't have the standing to evoke the law.
But why do you even care about that? Hey, everybody in America lost something. Some of us lost more than a family member.
What could possibly be greater than that?
Look, this is going to sound sick, but I worked on the North and South Towers. My first big job back in the 60s.
How old were you?
I was 18 when they broke ground on Tower 1. My uncle was running 5 riveting games. Well, that's almost 50 of us just from our family. I was on that site every day for the first 4 years of my adult life, and I loved every damn minute of it. I mean, we built the tallest buildings in the world. Hey, my mother has pictures of me on my toes, 107 stories in the air.
So you aged out.
Do I seem aged out, asshole? Hey, 55 is prime, man. Still strong, still agile, but smart. Hey, you got me at my best and at a bargain price. That morning, me and my crew, we were on a job 10 blocks away. Water Street, 600 feet up. All right, everybody, shake a leg today, because Andy's on the crane, and you do not want to keep that man from his beer.
The hell's the difference? Andy 1030 is beer 30.
Well, when you run the crane, you can set the pace.
No, he had to learn how to read first.
You know, it was a typical day. And then out of the blue, you don't realize how big those sons of bitches are.
Oh, Christ, the crane!
Andy! The stuff son of a bitch, Andy Coyote, he nearly fell getting out of the crane. I mean, we all thought the wing was going to clip him and drag everything down with it. When it hit the North Tower, it was like an earthquake. I mean, we were buzzing a storm.
Jesus.
I got on the phone to the Union Hall, and I told them to get the word out. We must have had 100 guys working jobs all over the lower island. Hoboken, Patterson, we had to get them out of there. Well, I'm on the phone, and everybody's screaming. We're hearing the first sirens, and right when we're talking, after the South Tower, I lost the connection. It took me 17 hours to get home that night to Brooklyn.
And when did you know about Amanda?
Who?
Your niece's name is Amanda, right?
What? Oh, my niece, right. No, not till that night. All those hours later.
God, Chuck, I'm so sorry.
So, you got me at a bargain price.
See, that is a story of loss in every dimension.
Oh, shut up, you idiot. Shut up with the excuses. You know, everyone thinks the Mohawks are special, that we can't fall. Bullshit. We're as terrified as anybody else. We just handle it. You're an artist. You see things in your head, right? You create things out of thin air. It's what you have to do, huh? Well, since when is what's inside your head only pretty, only fit for decoration? Since when are you only supposed to make feel-good, happy shit? What is it you always say about it?
It's about questions, not answers.
You were the first person with the balls to ask the questions about who those victims were, Mark. To really look at the loss there. To make something that said, don't remember us as some idea of loss, but think about who we were as people. That's why I wanted to work for you. Think about the victims. All of them. I'm going to fix the welds on that Iphigenia figure. Phew, they're all foobarred.
How do I make victims strong
Have you seen my father?
and vulnerable, fragile?
The general of all the generals.
They knew they were going to die.
That makes him sad. Why?
You're not Achilles, all stooped and slouched. The commander of the Myrmidons would not curve like a street beggar.
They would be panicked, but they had time. Minutes.
My, these are ugly.
And sad.
But just people, Mark, not pathetic, not heroic.
Your job is to make them noble, exemplary.
They chose to jump instead of burning alive.
Those were their choices? Were they criminals?
They were falcons. They were wishes made real.
But they weren't the only victims. No, he's right.
Soldiers?
Angels?
Innocent civilians under attack.
My body was innocence.
Innocence and fear were my art.
I was afraid at first. I cried on the elder's hands, twined myself around his legs.
Like a slave girl, I begged for my life. I said to him, remember our happy times?
Everyone was attacked. We all responded.
Knowing my father's noble intention didn't make those moments less difficult.
But knowing that I would not turn to dust.
That I would be forever remembered.
If they had known what their deaths would inspire, would that have helped them? Given their death meaning? Christ, Mark, that only matters to the survivors.
You think you can know the meaning of death? You think such knowledge even matters? Your hand draws figures on a page. Your patrons smile, put silver in your hand for them. Then you think, oh yes, my art, my life has meaning.
Ask her about meaning. Life has meaning only because it will end. And the meaning of death, that it is stronger than life.
The sunlight in my eyes is sweet, but they will darken, and then there is nothingness. So whoever longs for death is mad. But a death of glory makes one live forever.
We're supposed to create art that outlasts the event that inspired it. Memorials for future generations to remember what we're trying to forget. It's not them we want to forget. It's what happened to them, what we had to do after they were gone. The compromises, the terrible choices.
You choose which of the dead to remember, to honor, because they have no choice.
To name them and know them, that's what I owe to them. The innumerable, unyieldingly dead.
Iphigenia of Hellas, daughter of Agamemnon.
Ida of Shilsveen, they put me in the bog to stop the rain.
They are but the most recent, most dramatic in a long line of our dead. They will not be faceless.
I ate the special porridge and carried with me the seeds of our spring and summer. They gave me a drink for sleep. They covered my eyes. I didn't feel the rock. When they laid me in the peat, I still felt warm. So to keep my spirit still, they put a stone on my chest.
I made the winds come for 10,000 ships to sail.
I made the sunshine to sprout the grain. What did she do?
We kill people, then we remake them as memory objects. To make us remember what? That the strong prevail over the weak, that those without power are consumed like fuel?
No.
The sacrifice of war. Wrapping paper around the bad habits and lies of generals and priests.
I served my people.
All of mighty Hellas looked on me for safe passage to Troy, and in my power it lay to plunder our enemies, to check their barbarian raids on my happy land. All this deliverance my death ensured, my life exchanged for Greece's freedom.
Your fame. But he labors only with questions.
I made her to honor all who died.
He will struggle until he makes a sacrifice.
The gods are very angry with him.
I should have fought back. I should have said no.
Here you are.
Oh, God, what do you want? How did you find me?
You should have the lock on that back door replaced. It's cheap. Nashville must be safer than New York.
What do you want?
I came to see the only memorial I have of my daughter, her sarcophagus.
Look, I didn't know your daughter. This isn't her. Jesus, that was years ago.
6 years, 2 months, and 4 days.
Oh, look, I made her to help me grieve, to help me understand. I thought it would help others. It's over. I've been released. I've moved on.
What Well, I have not moved on. She was taken from me before I could move on, integrate, come to closure, whatever the term is these days. What did you expect? You're an artist. You're supposed to make people upset.
Not people who have already been hurt.
Who has not been hurt?
He sounds like a child.
Are you telling me that you made this amazing thing by accident?
Of course not. I was consumed by this work. I just don't know what it is anymore. I made her to help free me, but instead she's holding all of it, all the sadness and loss and anger from you and everyone else. She's choking me. Whatever I do, it won't bring her back.
You have given me, a total stranger, the greatest gift I'll ever get for the rest of my life. Did you ever think you'd achieve that?
Look, Carol.
It's Claudia, and this is Ellen, and you have got to put her back so that I can see her, my daughter, at her death in New York. So grow a spine, get up the nerve, the cojones, whatever you need. You put her where I can see her whenever I want. Chuck, tell him I need her like food and drink. I have nothing without her.
What the hell is this?
Look, Mark, it's not what you think.
You know this woman? Is that how she found me? You betrayed me to this bitch lunatic?
No, Mark.
Chuck has been kind and respectful and informative. Is that betrayal to you?
Mark, I felt sorry for her. She's a kook.
Kook. At least I know what I am, right, Chuck?
Yeah, a woman who talks to a statue begging it to come to life. That's crazy.
If I'm crazy, it's from watching Mark run from his own gifts, his true sight, and you've driven me crazy with your lies.
Come on, get out now.
Did you never wonder, Mark, how it is a man who grew up in all his life in New York City, who
Get
worked
out
with
now.
his family in their own business, who did remarkable work and was well paid for it? How does that man leave his wife, his family, his brothers, and follow you to Nashville?
He's traumatized. He lost his niece.
Oh, yes, the non-existent niece.
She exists.
No, Mark, you have to be alive first before you can die, right, Chuck?
Chuck.
God damn you.
From that first moment when those animals took her away from me, all this time I'm thinking, Chuck understands me because of his niece.
All this time you're grieving about a niece is a lie?
Oh,
Why?
well, she's not alive completely. Chuck has a niece, several as a matter of fact, all alive and well.
Oh, you damn bitch, why don't you mind your own business and get on with your own life?
Tell him, Chuck. Tell him why you're here.
What does it matter?
Tell me.
Look, I can't get on the damn iron anymore, okay? What we built there was invincible, and then it wasn't. And when it came down, I didn't help anybody. I went back and I worked the rescue weapon, and that was nothing. There was no one to rescue. There was just bits and pieces everywhere. There was just bits and pieces. There was thumbs, and oh, God, you can't imagine it. And then I had to take all that burnt and twisted iron down what I'd spent the best years of my life putting up. I had to pull it all back down, and by the time it was done, I didn't have a son anymore or a wife. My life there was over. And every time I tried to get back on the iron, I was sick or worse. I don't have it anymore. I don't have a life to live in New York. There. It's enough for you.
I don't have a life either. All I want is her. She's the only life I want. Ellen Mary Adams, 31 Warrenton, New Jersey. She was my art. She was perfect. Put her back for me, Mark, please.
Christy A. Adamo, 28, New Hyde Park, New York.
Terrence E. Adderley, 22, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan.
I don't want any more days. I don't want a life. I just
Heel toe. Look, I know you're terrified. I know that, but heel toe.
just heel toe.
Put her in the grouping, please, Mark.
Sophia B. Otto, 36, New York, New York. Lee Adler, 48, Springfield, New Jersey. Daniel Thomas Aflito, 32, Manalapan, New Jersey. Emmanuel Afukwa, 37, New York, New York. Alok Argowal, 36, Jersey City, New Jersey. Mukul Argawala, 37, New York, New York. Joseph Agnello, 35, New York, New York. David Agnes, 46, New York, New York. Joe A.D. Aguiar Jr., 30, Red Bank, New Jersey. Lieutenant Brian G. Ahern, 43, New York Fire Department, Huntington, New York. Jeremiah J. Ahern, 74, Cliffside Park, New Jersey. Joanne Ahaladios, 27, New York, New York. Shabir Ahmed, 47, New York, New York.
So very much. Actors, if you could join us on stage here for a second, please. And if you'd be kind enough to bring 2 stools. We're going to do question and answer with the playwright Valerie Hart. So if you have questions, we'll certainly take them from you here in a moment. I want to introduce you to this beautiful cast. For those of you at home who don't have programs in your hands like the live audience here. All right.
When we take direction well, we thought it was 2 stools apiece. So,
so they planned it. Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, let's go down the line here and talk about our magical characters here on the end. Please give us your real name and who you play.
Elizabeth Walsh, Eat a Girl. Maggie Pitt, Iphigenia.
Kristen McCauley, statue.
Wesley Payne, Claudia, Kook.
Bill Brady, Mark Crespo.
Clay Hillwig, Jerry, Ironworker number 1, EMT. Yeah.
Dan Millard, all the other people, the fill-in people.
Jazz Howard, Chuck.
Yeah. I know for me as the director, these actors absolutely epitomized the roles that we cast them in. And if this play goes on, and I hope it will, down the line I'm still going to hear these voices and see these faces in the show. And I'll bring on Valerie Hart now. Guys, if you want to join the audience or make yourself comfortable out here, either way is fine.
Okay, so we don't need these.
Everyone, this is Valerie S. Hart. She's the playwright. She is not born and raised in Nashville, but we're happy to have her here now. We've been 2.5, 3 years.
Delighted to be here.
I suspect that you guys have some questions. Am I right? If not, I certainly do. Well, I'm going to ask her a question about one of my favorite aspects of the show. The 2, I call them the magical characters, and by that I mean Eat a Girl, the young woman whose community put her in the bog as a sacrifice so that the rains would stop and they would have food and drink, and women who bore children and so forth. And Iphigenia, the Greek girl whose father slayed her, who to put winds into the sails so that they could go and rescue Helen of Troy. And I find them fascinating as anachronistic characters set in this pretty much modern day play of the last 10 years. Talk to us, if you would, about scapegoat and sacrifice, because I know that that's what they represent to you.
Right.
So the idea of sacrifice, it's a concept I've thought about a lot myself as a writer and just as a person. It feels sort of the concept and the words and all the vocabulary around sacrifice, about sacrificing yourself or doing things as sacrifice or some kind of gift that has a cost to you in order to serve an idea or a concept or a person that's greater than yourself. I feel there's something about that gesture that is actually in our DNA, because it just seems pervasive historically and culturally. And in the play, Mark is thinking a lot about this concept initially before 9/11 happened, and so it just kind of gets all conflated in his mind with what happened, and he doesn't just interpret it. It's not merely an act of war for him. It's all kind of swirling around in his head. The two specific characters I chose because Iphigenia is part of the Greek mythology, and that's really our Western intellectual tradition, right? That's where it starts. Ida Girl is Iron Age Europe. So for me, she sort of represents our DNA, right? I mean, we don't really know a lot about where she's from, but they're doing the same thing. They're sacrificing people. The Mayans are sacrificing people. The Iron Age Europeans are sacrificing people, right? There's human sacrifices going on all over the globe. And where does that all come from? So for me, they're kind of like, okay, phenotype and genotype, or what's in our DNA and what's in our culture, and they're all kind of banging around in Mark's head and my head, while I'm writing the play, and then while he's trying to create his piece. And scapegoats are another really fascinating idea, and in fact, one of Iphigenia's speeches is an adaptation of this little piece of Leviticus in the Old Testament, which is where we trace the root of the word scapegoat. And in that, and I'm by no means a biblical scholar, but in that section, whoever is speaking is talking about pouring all the sins onto the goat, the scapegoat, and sending it off into the wilderness. And it's this very, very old gesture of cleansing the group, cleansing the society of what ails it at that moment, or what the hierarchy thinks ails it. And artists get scapegoated all the time. And in America, sometimes I feel like they get run over roughshod pretty hard, because in our sort of Calvinist tradition of being positive and productive, sometimes some things that some artists do look pretty frivolous, they don't really look, they're sort of very inscrutable. We don't really understand what the contribution might be, but it's all really important, in my opinion, as an artist. It all accrues. And there's many, many, many works of art that when they were first created, Van Gogh is an easy one, right? Completely ignored, thought of as junk, blah, 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 and now his pieces, are considered the height of Impressionism. So that's why those two concepts are so important to me in the play.
Questions from anyone here? One of my favorite lines in the show is, it's a line of Mark the artist, and he says, we kill people and then create them as memory objects. And I love the concept of memory artist. Do you have a question about memory artist, or shall we?
No, I had a different question. How did you come up with the symbolism, and what exactly were you thinking about the tying of the scarf?
Oh, well, that's just sort of it's part of the vocabulary of the play, and it's meant to indicate death, or there's actually a line in the stage directions when Ida Girl, I think, when Iphigenia first ties the ribbon around her neck, there's a auditory stage direction that says there's the sound of a throat being cut. right? And you can actually find those kinds of MP3 files out on the web. So it's just meant to indicate death. And when so it happens several times when people are being sacrificed. So when Eat a Girl is acting as Agamemnon and she raises the sword to strike Iphigenia, in this rendering, she can't do it. And Iphigenia opens her palm and takes it out and ties the scarf. That's a reference actually to Iphigenia at Aulis, which is this Greek play. And in that play, her father summons her to be sacrificed and he can't do it. And she basically, when she understands what her death will mean, she really kind of transforms the whole play, takes control of the whole play, this young teenage girl, and just says, oh no, I don't want to die, but if I need to die for my country, for the Greeks to sail, for us to do this thing that we feel we have to do, I will do it. And so that's why she takes the ribbon and ties it around her throat. And then when it happens to Mark, during the scene 3, during the art talk scene, it's just this moment where I think Randy, the MC, just kind of said, well, it's kind of ironic that you've been silenced yourself and you've become a victim yourself, and so she just does it. So it's just kind of a symbol of him being momentarily silenced.
Question from Jeffrey.
About the
There's a mic for you.
Leviticus scapegoat. Coming from the critical point of view of using that symbol, while you said the artist might be deemed as a scapegoat or made a scapegoat by the public or critics, the critics are saying, from my point of view, that he's chosen a scapegoat, which is her, which is the victim, which is a statue, whether she's ambiguous or specific. She's carrying the sin in representation, just like the goat. And I can empathize with that negative reaction, particularly if somebody identifies with her. Why her? Why something so specific? So the scapegoat might be relative, depending on one's perspective. So commentary on that.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole, you sit up here as the author or the playwright and you receive questions and you feel it's very important that you have a rationale and that that there is nothing unintentional in the play, which there isn't. That said, when Mark says it's about questions, not answers, I mean, that's really why I write plays or write anything, right? Whether it's poetry or plays. It's because there's something going on in the world, in my life, in someone I know, in the life of someone I know, and I don't understand it. And there's no other way I can really figure it out. I can noodle it, I can let the cycles spin in my head, but until I have to actually write it down, and particularly this discipline, where I have to give it to a director who has to interpret it, and give it to an actor who has to say those lines with conviction and meaning. That's kind of like the acid test for me. It still doesn't mean that the play is by any means prescriptive or that is the only way to interpret the concept of scapegoat in the play, because it's definitely not. You're definitely right. And, I have tremendous empathy for the people who would be upset by a figurative sculptor a year after that event. So it's that tension between freedom of expression, right, and the needs of other individuals in the group, right? There's some way we have to figure that out, and it's never going to be easy and not messy. But it isn't that the gesture is necessarily mean-spirited or that we still can't, for some reason, have it. So, and I know it sounds idiotic, sort of like circular. So that's why I wrote the play. I still haven't figured it out. It still bothers me, but.
Early on in the process, I commented to Val that I think Mark is her voice. He's the artist who puts something out that he wants to express, and he can't control the impression that his expression is going to make. And you very wisely said back that you did, that sure, you are Mark's voice, but you are also every other character in the show. And I think the more that I have come to work the play and understand the play, I think I identify with every single character out there, down to the statue even. Is there one character more than another that perhaps you guys respond to? Shane?
I have a question for Trish Chris. You know, it's interesting when you're working as a director from page to stage, but could you talk a little bit about the process from page to stage and stage to screen, actually bringing it to the studio, and what that was like for you, for the actors, and for Valerie as a playwright? I mean, to make that transition, I'd be interested to know how you felt that went and what you thought about that process.
They're two very different processes, for sure. I will say that I feel very confident in the page to stage transition, where we take the beautiful words written by this woman and put it in the mouths and bodies of some extremely talented actors, and together we all work the puzzle until we come out with a product that we feel conveys emotionally and intellectually to you all the points that are key in the show. It is a different thing altogether to take that stage production and bring it in here to a television studio. Different lighting situation, different sound situation. The images that the folks on TV saw tonight superimposed on the screen between acts, the folks here in the live audience have been watching on a television monitor. In the Dark Horse Theater, we projected those onto the curtain behind the stage, so it was more integrated into the action. For example, in Art Talk, when Randy Davidoff asks to put up an image of the sculpture, it's right above the heads of the live action happening on the stage. So there's less of a sort of ping pong back and forth for the folks seated there. And then the folks on television, of course, are switching between the printed screen and then the action screen. You know, we've got a fantastic team that we certainly couldn't have done either production, theater or studio, without, and that's a sound person, sound design, Adam Kellum. The airplane sound was not as live here for you guys in the studio as it was on television, or as it was hugely loud in the theater. Frightening. It felt like a real plane coming into the Dark Horse. We made it a point to integrate some WSM radio footage on the front end, because that brings it home. Those elements and the lighting, the lighting here is beautiful. It was a whole different ballgame in the theater, where we can control pigments, and it's not just about temperature of color, but a whole range of fuchsia and then greens and so forth projected on the towers behind us. So of course, those of us who've been watching it for 10 days in the theater, we miss that vibrant green and we miss the fuchsia. But of course, now I've revealed to the television audience they didn't get the full color picture that we did in the theater. But that was a challenge from bringing a theater production into a different lighting situation. I do still want to talk about memory objects, because that is my favorite line in the show, where it's near the end when Mark, the artist, has sat back down to try again, come up with the perfect design for the grouping to go in front of the New World Trade Center. And he says, we kill people and recreate them as memory objects. And I think we do, especially when trying to commemorate an event of the magnitude and gravity of the attacks on the World Trade Center. Your thoughts on the choosing of those words, memory objects, and the process?
So a memory object, technically, psychologically, is an object that an individual invests with sort of their identity, right? It really becomes kind of a mirror, it mirrors back to them specifically. And a sculptor like Mark, who is building a memorial, but he is not using boxes and chairs and names in a slate, or pools of water or something. He's not using objects, he's using a very recognizable figure. It does really kind of become for him a memory object for all of those people. I mean, that I have tremendous admiration for my character and for the real person who inspired this, because even though I'm not an enormous fan of figurative art, personally, from a taste standpoint, to try to grapple with an event like that with a human figure, it just must be overwhelming because you're constantly dealing with the figure of the victim. And so it's just kind of ironic, you know, we want to put a guy on a horse with a big sword and say, yes, you know, that memorializes thousands of young men, you know, killed in Flanders Field or whatever it is. It just seems so contradictory and cruel to me. So that's why the line's in there.
Speaking of that character,
Yes.
Phil Brady, who portrayed Mark Crestfall in the show, has a question.
I do. My character is based on Eric Fischel, who created Tumbling Woman. And my understanding is that you've had some communications with him related to this show, and can you tell us about those communications?
Sure. Actually, he reached out to Rhubarb initially and said, hi, I've heard about this production, and I've heard it's based on me and my sculpture, and I'm so flattered that, you know, someone would write about that, and please put me in touch with the author. So I had an email exchange with him and told him that I would be sending him a script after this production closed because I'll give you a little history about the project. I first started working on this in 2006. It was a one-act. Last fall, Trish and I, who have gotten to know each other through some other theatrical and social things, I asked her what she was doing for 9/11. She said she didn't have anything on the books. We started talking about this play. She said, you know, if you can turn it into a full-length play, I'd be interested in mounting it. So I scribbled away and basically increased, I think it went from 4 scenes to 9 scenes. So half of the play is pretty new for a play. My thinking was I want to, not completely, but I want to rewrite the play, which actually I completed today. And so now I have version 3 of the script, and that's the version I'm going to send to him. Along with, we are probably going to send him a DVD of this production tonight. So he's been very lovely and very gracious, and actually his wife, April Gornick, I think is her name. She's a landscape architect as well as a painter. She was just highlighted today in Sunday today in Sunday Styles in the New York Times. So she talked about their life in Long Island and all that stuff. So
His name is Eric Fischel, and the sculpture that she's referring to is called Tumbling Woman. And the other parts, he's not from Nashville. That part we fictionalized, you know, for this story. But I would encourage you to look it up. I think it's a gorgeous sculpture. And we thank him for being interested in our portrayal. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Since you like memory objects so much, I'm curious why you're using that term, which sounds almost clinical, when you're talking about heroes and icons and symbols.
I think culturally, we look at those large monuments as a society's memory object for that event. So, for example, the Vietnam Memorial, right? That's a series of these granite slabs with names in them. It's very personal and powerful when you go there, and if you were alive during Vietnam, as I was, I mean, it was at my dinner table every single night. So I go there. I didn't know anyone personally at Vietnam, but you stand in front of that thing, and all of a sudden, you're back there. You know, it really immerses you back in that era. At least it does for me. So that for me, so if a memory object is if on the singular scale, on the personal scale, I have a memory object. It's this tiny little figure, sits on my desk, right? So there's this scale to that scale. For me, large monuments are society's memory objects for these terrible events, for these, you know, enormous losses, and they can be very personal. There's a monument, and I can't remember the name of it, to World War I in London, and there are 4 figures on the low part of the plinth, and then there's a like a tall central part and a central figure at the top. One of the lower figures is a prone, dead infantryman with his legs extended and his big, heavy woolen coat over the top part of his body, and his, I forget what they called those helmets, but that particularly flat-shaped World War I helmet cocked onto the top of his head. And that is just an incredibly powerful object for me for trench warfare from World War I. I wasn't there. I don't believe any of my family actually was in World War I, but what I know about that war and what I know about trench warfare, when I stood in front of that thing, it evoked some kind, what felt like a memory in me. So it's not, it's a psychological term, and its strict definition is personal, but I think it scales, at least in my opinion, it scales for the group.
Question?
I think you touched on this, but I just want to hear you get a little bit more depth from you, Trish, as far as the history of rhubarb, the mission of rhubarb, about tolerance and just basically the mission statement of rhubarb, and why it is that with rhubarb and this mission statement, why is it this was so important to do this play? And when you heard it, and at the same time, Valerie, why was it so important to you, knowing rhubarb, for rhubarb to be the one to put this production up for you?
You are the perfect person to ask that question. Clay Hillwig, who you just watched on stage for an hour and a half, is what I call an original rhubarber. We're at the end of our 9th season right now. Rhubarb Theater Company was created by a woman named Julie Alexander, and in 2003, and she always focused on tolerance and diversity in slice-of-life situations, was the way she always phrased the kind of plays she wanted to do. I had the good fortune of acting in all of Rhubarb's plays, except one, for 7 years, and when Julie moved to England, she offered the company to me. And it took me all of about a millisecond to decide, yes, I would love for this to be my company. Since then, we've continued on with her theme of tolerance and diversity in slice-of-life situations. I've written several of our shows since 2009 when I took over the company. And she never called it this, but I know it was the same thing that drew her to the plays she chose as what draws me to the plays I write and that I choose. I call it ugly beauty. It's that part inside all of us that's shame or longing or hatred or envy, all of those things that we feel that we tend to not shine a light on for entertainment. And I like that gritty, ugly reality. And I saw some of that certainly in Val's plot, and the feelings among the characters in the world event that it referenced. And I'm drawn to that. As an actor, I like to play ugly things. As a writer, I like to write ugly things. And as a director, I like to bring them to you for you to ponder.
Rhubarb Theater, when I first came, I moved to Nashville in 2008. I had just gotten my degree in creative writing from San Francisco State, and I immediately moved here. The very first piece of theater I saw, you were in at Rhubarb, the Last Chance Texaco.
Very ugly.
Trish plays this amazing mother. That's a mother character, right? She's amazing, crazy, powerful, and weak at the same time. And I'm interested in why people do things, not just how they do them or what they do. I'm very interested in why people do things. I'm not certain we can ever really understand that, but it's very interesting territory to explore. And this play is pretty terrifying for me, so I'm not certain I would have entrusted it actually to, certainly not anyone else in Nashville, I think, except for you. And for those of you who don't know, and forgive me if you do know this, but a play script is really kind of like an architectural blueprint. I mean, there's some writers like Edward Albee, he writes every single thing, you know, where you're going to put a glass on an end table. Lots of writers don't write any stage directions at all. I mean, I think Shakespeare, all he's got are entrances and exits in his plays. There's no stage directions, right? So lots of what you, I mean, pretty much all you see on stage, what you hear is in the script, but what you see and what you see the actors evoke is due to the director, right? It's their vision of that architectural blueprint. And then they have these skilled craftspeople who render all that beauty and ugliness on stage. So, bravo, I have to say.
Right back at you. It's been a wonderful collaboration.
Yeah, it has been.
Oh, look,
Yes.
more people, more questions.
Last night, a friend of mine who saw the show said, I think what the play is about is loss. And I wonder if either one or both of you would address in what many ways loss is the overarching, because she said that and I thought, oh, yeah, that's exactly right. So, playwright, director, what do you think?
It is loss, definitely. Certainly from the character that she portrays. This is Wesley Payne, and she played the mother, the bereaved mother, Claudia. I think the loss is most apparent in her character. The night that my mother came to see the show, I felt that loss in a different way than I had felt on nights when she was not there. So for me, it became a personal maternal-daughter thing, but I know that there are deeper and broader themes of loss in the show.
Well, I don't know about deeper. I mean, the loss, I mean, I tried consciously in a couple of spots, I don't know how successful it was, but I tried consciously to equate Claudia's feeling about Ellen and Mark's feeling about the way that, you know, what he had, you know, poured all of that, of his sense of loss of his countrymen and what we were before 9/11, right, into that statue. So there's a lot of equivalency for me there between those two characters and for that whole creative act, right? That whole creative act. That's why the collector talks about it and all that kind of language, you know, and he finally says, well, then don't make babies, you know, you think this is hard, right? But there's all kinds of, there's many, many layers of loss in the play, you know. I'm trying to think, I mean, almost every character except for even the ironworkers, even the ancillary characters, you know, they've lost friends, they've lost their friend Chuck. Chuck lost his marriage and his family and his, you know, business and all that sort of stuff. So there's many, many layers, you know. I think would be a good shorthand gesture to say it's about loss.
So Trish invited me here, and I had no idea what play I was going to see. I'd heard about this on NPR. I was like going to research this play, and then all of a sudden I'm here by surprise watching it. So it had an emotional, unexpected impact. People need to see this. What are you doing to make sure this gets propagated?
Several people have seen it during the run because Trish is such an excellent producer and promoter. Okay, quick. Tonight I sent the play to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I sent it to the editor of American Theater Magazine, and I sent it to this performing arts library that's at Duke University, and they're all considering it in some capacity.
And now that you all have seen it, you can tell your friends to have an eye to it. If you're on Facebook, you can look up Rhubarb Theater Company and read reviews, see backstage photos, watch the future of this. With that, I think we're going to tell you all thank you so much for being part of the very first experiment of doing live theater on Music City Arts Channel 9. On behalf of Rhubarb and Channel 9, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
so much, everybody.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks for all the great questions. That was great.